another great engagement point, if you will. A few of you actually sent me a message in the last few things. What is the best recommendations on the all different levels of ranking? And honestly, I'm just going to kind of combine it all together, and I'm gonna share with you what my best students do in order for them to maybe be successful. And I'm not necessarily referring to the black belts or brown belts or even purple belts. If we stack this all across all of the ranks, what do the best students, what makes the biggest progression for individual ranks, for individual students? And we can break this down into just a handful of pillars. One is a preparation. Two is consistency of training. Three is homework, and four is passion in my book, at least. So the ones who are successful, regardless of their rank, one, they prepare themselves. So whether they go to fundamentals class or they go to intermediate, advanced, sport, drilling, open training, they prepare themselves, not only mentally, but also put a small plan of action into play, oftentimes on paper, to have a purpose as they are walking into the academy. And why is that important? Well, one, they are not going into a pitch dark room. They actually have a plan. They know what their objectives are. They know what they are going to do. They know what their plan is, how they're going to tackle specific situations. See, Jiu-Jitsu is so broad and so wide, so deep and rich, then without a plan, you very often will be lost, will be confused. You're going to deviate from what you were thinking you're going to do. So without that plan, it's very difficult to remain focused. Two is consistency of training. And it's not training 6 times a week, but being very rigid on being there 3 or 4 times, whatever your schedule allows. The consistency is the key. Is what we're trying to avoid is being there once a week and then 4 times a week, and then we miss a week, and then we are back to 7 times a week, and then we down to 2, and see those hills and valleys as far as attendance and consistency is what kills our training. If your schedule is demanding, put a priority for yourself to be there twice a week. And be realistic about this. We all have lives outside of Jiu-Jitsu. Oftentimes we have careers, we have families, we have jobs, and we have other engagements that oftentimes they are more important than Jiu-Jitsu. And having realistic expectations how many times we can train per week is very, very important. Now, there is no secret behind it. More times you on a mat, more success you're going to have. But again, is that the consistency that brings the success is not necessarily that 5 times a week, 1 week, and then another week we are completely missing it. So that is really, really, really important part behind all of this. Doing your homework. So after each session, make a point of reflection. How did things go? What went well? Celebrate the wins. At the same time, be critical of yourself as far as the things that you need to improve. See, in order for us to improve, we have to identify the areas of improvement, right? So what do they say? First step of fixing any problem is identifying there is one. And I encourage you to do that. And oftentimes it's difficult for us as humans to hear feedback. It's difficult for us to understand that we actually suck at something. But just think about this for a moment. Reflect on this by yourself. Anytime we suck at something, we can improve. When we don't see the areas when we can get better, this is where we are not improving in those areas. So whether it's passing the guard or general concept of training, maybe your goal is consistency. Identify that as that's your point of friction, and then start working towards it. Start fixing that. And that is what's going to set you, big part of your success will be that homework that you need to do. Do self-reflection. I am a huge fan of journaling. I journal daily. Write down my thoughts, write down my notes, write down what went well, what didn't go well, and all that not only gives me an opportunity to plan things ahead, but also point of reflection, how my day went. I'm not just going mechanically from day to day to day. I'm actually trying to put some thought into this. And the last, final, fourth point that I mentioned is passion. Listen, if we don't love this, we're going to quit. So love the grind. Embrace the grind. Jiu-Jitsu is simple from a global perspective, but it's complex. There's so many layers. It's so rich. It's so deep that we have to love it. And I remember even an interview with Steve Jobs, who said, listen, the ones who succeed in the world are those who are crazy enough to do things that other people don't do. And the only reason why they do them is because they have so much passion. That passion puts them over the edge, and they do things that are unlogical to people who don't see that same passion. So whether you're trying to compete and you have some huge goals from a competition perspective, or you're simply a hobbyist, have passion for the jiu-jitsu. Excuse me, be a fan. I call this often to my students, be a fan. Whether it's listening to episodes like this one and really trying to educate yourself, or maybe listening to some history, reading some books. Speaking of books, look behind it. That's just a small part of my library. There's another stack here, another on the other side, and so on. I mean, I have tons of books. I love reading. Educate yourself, continue reading, be engaged with community, whether it's in a passive way like reading, or more active way like events or hanging out with your friends, watching, educating yourself actively, whether online or at the academy. Be a fan. Those 4 points will make you successful. These 4 points is what I see as a consistent common denominator between those who are successful, regardless of the rank. Keep on training. Peace.